Welcome. Today is another very special episode. We're here in Claymore Wines in Clare Valley, South Australia, and we're going to do an interview with Jonathan. I'm Jason.
And I'm Trent, and we're here to provide you a unapologetically unfiltered, unprofessional journey of wine. We were saying here, Jace.
Our saying here is drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Now, Jonathan, you're the Cellar and sales representative here at Claymore Wines. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you. Thanks for coming all the way to Leasingham.
It's a great visit, and to be honest, it's been on the list for me, and I'll get into that for a few reasons. But one of them is because I think Claymore Wines is all about fun.
Absolutely.
It's about good quality wine, but fun really resonates. We were meeting with Hentley Farm, Stuart Mossman the other day, and the word that kind of took away my breath was attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about Claymore, I think about the wine labeling and titling around music.
Yep.
I think about the wine labeling itself and the different pictures that it presents.
Yeah.
I think about Friar frocks, which sounds like it's a common thing here at the Cellar.
It is. Our fearless general manager started the trend a few years ago. Yes.
Carissa Major, fantastic.
Yep.
And it just spells out we want the wine to be fun and accessible. Does that sum up the culture and the inspiration for Claymore Wine?
Absolutely. And it's sort of it's a very loose interpretation which ties in with Claymore and the Scottish broadsword about not getting caught off guard, have fun, life's too short. Don't drink shit wine.
Very important point.
Yeah.
And so the fun aspect of it is something that we like to introduce in our interview, which is why we like to do a bit of a icebreaker set of questions, something like speed dating to get to know you, to get to know a bit more about Claymore Wines. And so we might start off with that. Trent,
flirt
do you want
with
to
me? Come
there
on.
we go.
Sure.
Shoot away with the icebreakers.
So first one is there that memorable wine that you've had in the past that's kind of resonated with you that you want to share with us?
Yes, it was. I had a Montepulciano just bought before I was working up here, actually, and it had beautiful fruit, really nice mouthfeel, and I had it with a couple of cheeses, and I was just happy.
Yeah.
I was just a happy
right?
boy. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to make it complicated. It was fantastic.
Very well. So from the Montepulciano, is it also then wines you're still wanting to taste as well and try, or regions you want to explore as well?
Yeah, and I think having worked in the Clare Valley for about 2.5 years, you really get a sense of regionality, especially within South Australia as well. So it's always good to keep trying, not necessarily a specific one, but there's so much variation between regions. Even here in the Barossa, there's a huge variation on certain red grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a build on that one, is there a favourite varietal that's for you?
Well, I could say Riesling.
Yeah.
Being in the heartland, Riesling is very delicious. But I'm a big fan of Chardonnay, and especially lighter style Chardonnays.
Yes.
And it's nice to see a few people are doing more of them as well. Still like a nice buttery oaky Chardonnay, but I like the cleanness that comes with a softer style Chardonnay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Next one is through all your food that you've had, also the wine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a very different kind of food and wine pairing that you kind of want to share with us that's kind of surprised you?
Oh, it's on the spot. No, I'm trying to think now, and I'll make something up. Have you got another question? I need to let it mull around in my head for a minute.
Okay, we'll hold on that one. The next one that comes through is around for us. So we're relative amateurs into the wine world.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you want to kind of give us and also the viewers, on how to best take on this journey and kind of absorb as much as we can?
Just try lots of wine and converse. I quite often find when people come into the cellar door, they're just shy, especially people on younger generations. You don't have to be shy.
Yeah.
You like it or you don't. Just come in and try different wines.
Yeah. Is it because that's that wall that think that, it's that pretentiousness around it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just fermented grape juice. People do it differently. So go out and try it and have fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
I love how just saying it's fermented grape juice really simplifies it down to, guys, just enjoy what you need to have. It's nothing overly complicated.
I can hear lots of snobs rolling.
Well, that's what we want to get away from. Wine is accessible. That's what our whole podcast journey is about.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that was the icebreaker questions.
Yep.
You've done very well in that. We're about to hit into the hard
Back to the food.
Okay.
nice charred smoky eggplant with Sangiovese
Oh, yeah.
on the barbecue. Delicious. Yeah.
Is that because a bit of Sangiovese has a bit of smokiness there as
Yeah.
A
well?
little bit,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
The moment you
one.
said the chard, I thought that's got to be a good combination.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the icebreaker questions. Let's dive into it. And like we said, we want to know more about Claymore Wines. We want to know more about Clare Valley. But I think a big part of what we're interested in is also your wine journey.
Yeah.
What was the moment that got you into the wine industry? And then if you could just summarize, how did you get to this point now where you're working at Claymore Wines?
Yeah, it was more out of necessity than anything else. I think about 10 years ago, I did the Adelaide thing and moved to Melbourne and was there for about 12 months. And I discovered that Melbourne's a great place to visit for me, but I want country space.
Yeah.
And so I moved back to Adelaide. I was doing lots of hospitality and retail jobs. And I went and worked for fun on the weekends out in a cellar door in the Barossa. And it probably wasn't until around 2018 that I started seriously looking for winery-related jobs. It wasn't necessarily cellar door. But I'd always come up to the Clare Valley as a kid, and I still really like the country charm about the Clare Valley because it hasn't quite had the development that Barossa and McLaren Vale have had. So you come up here and you cross the train tracks at Tarlee and it's like the weight lifts off your shoulders.
Yeah.
So I saw a full-time cellar door position come up at Claymore's and applied for it. And hey, presto, I'm still here 2.5 years later. Yeah.
Great.
And what was the other part of the question?
Oh, it was just summarizing your wine journey up until this point, but I think you've done that.
Yeah, so it was mainly just sort of casual cellar door work, and then being able to talk to people is the number one position to bring into cellar door work.
But why a wine cellar door and not something else as well? Not farming or something like that?
Yeah,
right?
not farming. Wine, I think it's a very friendly and convivial sort of aspect of primary production.
Yeah.
And I find it the nicest sort of aspect of hospitality as well. When people come in, they're happy. When they want to come in and try wine.
Yeah.
So on the whole, you get sort of 98% pleasant people.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're part of that 98%.
Of course.
So we've had a few wines from the Clare Valley area, and we know that Riesling is high up there. It's probably the thing that stands out the most from Clare Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say my introduction from Claymore Wine was a 2017 basket press Shiraz.
Okay.
And it was a sales assistant at Velour Cellars in Parramatta.
Yeah.
He saw me walking around and he said, mate, if you just want to try something, try this red. Great value, great tasting, great casual guy. And I tried it, I bought it, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
And he came across as, there's a lot of people in the industry that's a wine snob, just a regular bloke wanting to share good tasting wine.
Yeah.
And when I think about wine for the people, that seems to be like a constant theme through
25
Claymore.
years this year.
25 years in regards to that. That kind of stands out for Claymore. Are you able to describe a bit around why the Clare Valley Reds are special? And then a second part to that, why Claymore wines are special?
Well, I think Clare Valley Reds are special, because Clare Valley is known for its Riesling. So by default, people don't think about it being a red wine production area, even though we produce more Shiraz and Cabernet each crush compared to Riesling.
Yeah.
And it's probably the diurnal temperature range that we get, which is good for your Rieslings as well. It just creates beautiful, elegant, varying fruit characteristic red wine as well, which is lovely. And it was a surprise for me when I moved up because I never really enjoyed Cab Sav. It was too much for me.
Yeah.
But Clare Valley Cabernets, I find the mouthfeel to be much more approachable, nice and soft on the tongue. You get beautiful variations on fruit as well. And I think that's why Claymore's special. Is that what you were? Yeah.
That was the second part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, because it's fun. We've got different elements which help to relax people as well. With the song titles, the wines are all pretty affordable when you look around at the competition as well, which helps. But I don't know, they're just delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, I go through the tasting stock at the end of every day and there isn't really too many wines that I'm not happy to take home and drink.
Yeah.
So I just think we make a really good breadth of different varietals that are really easy to drink for a lot of different people on the wine drinking spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, price is one aspect, but the fact that there's song labels and titles and different labels out there, it really just helps make it a casual affair.
Yeah.
Breaks down those barriers. And I think that's what's quite unique about what Claymore is trying to do, which is great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of people come in and they look at the label before they know what varietal it is and they want to drink it. Or they look at the song title and they're like, oh, I like that music, so I'll try that one instead.
We'll probably touch on it a bit later, but is there a certain significance to the song title to the wine in terms of its character or story?
I'm not overly on the whole, but there is, it's a bit of a combined effort, usually between Anura, the owner, Carissa, and Nick, our national sales manager, will have more play in the naming of different wines. Have
we gone through his whole album selection yet, or is there more?
No, I'm sure there's always more.
Yeah.
Just got to look out for copyright issues.
Anura seems like a great personality.
He is.
Are you able to touch on the origins? How did he come from? I think I read or heard he was a GP.
GP in Adelaide, yeah. Well, he's sort of
owning a winery.
He's come around to the Clare Valley, the long route. He's a Sri Lankan Malaysian man, and I think he was sort of around 5 years or so, and he went over to Liverpool in the UK to go to school. So he was there, did all his schooling and education and training to be a doctor, and then I think his cousin at the time was already out in Adelaide. I assume it might have been sort of late 80s, early 90s, and then Anura ended up moving out to Adelaide, started up his GP practices. And then started out, I think it was with a single side of Shiraz. I could be wrong, might be playing Chinese whispers, but had classical music references and was, I think, a little bit over 25 years ago when he was driving up with his kids in the car listening to Pink Floyd, and that's sort of when the penny dropped.
Yeah.
And so subsequently has named all the wines after music that he enjoys since. So I think... just starting out small. Yeah. Having a bit of medical backing behind him probably helped as well.
I'm going to take that as inspiration, saying that wine has some health benefits to it as well.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, health or healing properties.
Whether that be very short term or very long term, we're yet to find out. What a great story. Yeah. So he's driving the kids around, and that's a bit of the inspiration for setting up the wine.
And we've also, having grown up in Liverpool, lots of people also know about the Liverpool football connection tie. Yeah. It's Anura's sort of main passion. He loves the LFC. So we've got You'll Never Walk Alone wines, had a little wine sponsorship for 3 years with them. They all came up here and did a whole range of little special pieces as well. So tucked away in the Clare Valley, you've got lots of signatures from Liverpool, famous people in the barrel hall.
Robbie Fowler, Gerard.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was looking at the different wine labels and the one that was interesting, well, all of them are interesting, but the one I thought that's a bit different to the others was the general manager's wine label. Carissa Major. And so the one, it's a Tempranillo and it's called The Miseducation of Carissa.
Mm-hmm. It's the only ambiguous one out of the lot.
I thought so. Why is that?
Well, it's the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, the album that it's named after. But I think the first vintage, I like to elaborate on the story, which verges off track a bit from what I've heard from Carissa. So much so that in my head, I think it's more of the truth than what the real story is. The first vintage coincided when we had the Liverpool football sponsorship. So first vintage came out in 2016. And I think there was a little bit of back and forth about bringing out a new varietal into the winery. And so Carissa was quite forceful in getting a new varietal to come out because she really wanted to bring out some Tempranillo. Yeah. And it's been around ever since. So whether the boss got his revenge and named the wine the way he did, perhaps, I'm not too sure. But it's been a really popular drop of wine ever since. And Clare Valley Tempranillo is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's quite unique, actually, compared to other regions in SA for the mouthfeel. Yeah.
You don't hear about that often, right? Clare Valley Tempranillo.
No, not at all. But you do hear about the unique red varieties that are popping out. Yeah. So you're saying Arun chose the name as a to get her back for.
I don't know. That's the story I've created in my head. So just take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, sure.
I'm actually a big Lauryn Hill fan, so it really inspired me, which was great. I think that's the bulk of the questions that I had.
Yeah.
Trent, before we dive into the wines, were there any other questions?
It's probably just understanding the wines and different labeling, what they actually represent as well. Is it different tiers? Is it different something? Or just talk us through that.
We do have a reserve range. Everything else, which we've probably got about sort of 12 or 13 wines of, within another sort of range itself. I mean, we've got You'll Never Walk Alone wines as well, which go into some of our wine clubs, blah, blah, blah. But it's really mainly the two sort of tiers, the reserves and everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the grape varietals that you do here at Claymore?
A real mix. So we've got Rieslings, quite a few Rieslings at the moment. We do a Chardonnay as well, but it's a very small batch of Chardonnay. It's grown out next to our reserve Superstition vines. Tempranillo's classic South Australian blends, Grenache Shiraz Mataro, a Shiraz Mataro blend, which is probably my favourite because you can never have too much Mataro in the world. Cab Savs, Shiraz, and we do sort of tinker around with other things depending on what's available, what the boss wants to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've heard about someone praising Mataro. I think I need to have more of it.
It's the best. I've heard people call it old leather boots before, which I was most offended about. But hey,
some people
that's
like old
the
leather boots.
Exactly. Now, there was one more question that popped into my mind, but did you have another one that you were going to ask? I was looking around for the winemaker. And I actually couldn't find much information on that, which might be a meaning that it's a very secret source to touch on. Are you able to touch on the winemaker, or is that the secret juice?
How much wine are you buying? No. No, we've got he works part-time with us. He's called Adam Clay. And he's just taken over from Beck Richardson, who was with us for, I think, 2 or 3 vintages.
Okay.
So Adam Clay's got his own label in the Barossa.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it. And he also works for us part-time as well.
Great.
So there's a certain style that I guess Anura and Adam, I guess Carissa as well, is trying to kind of push forward with in terms of Claymore?
In terms of the wine style?
Yeah, the wine style, yeah. You mentioned fun. Doesn't mean it's fun. It is drink now rather than the kind of
more so. Yeah. I mean, I don't get to sit in on all the production meetings. Yeah. But I think, keeping things light on the lighter end, more approachable and drinkable for people to be able to experience across a broad range of sort of experience levels is what we always try and achieve. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay.
And so we've got 4 bottles in front of us that we might be able to...
5 bottles.
5 bottles.
5 bottles.
Yeah.
The secret
we
one
put the challenge
there.
to Jonathan saying, hey, pick us some wines that we could taste that would be representative of Claymore wines. And what do we have first up?
I'm giving you a little Riesling comparison.
Yeah.
So on the left-hand side, you've got our Joshua Tree Riesling. So you have the Joshua Tree Riesling and our Reserve Superstition. Yeah. They're both mainly estate parcels in Watervale, just grown at opposite ends of Watervale. And they sit really differently on the tongue, actually. They're both really early.
Oh, that's it.
That's the other one.
Yep.
They're both really early picks. So they've got a really good, strong natural acid base. Yeah. But the Joshua Tree is fresh lemon on the tongue, really beautiful, clean, dry acidity. Whereas the Superstition, the fruit sits a little bit plumper on the tongue and you get there's more fruit on there, but it's all a lot more delicate. Yeah. So you get softer sort of savoury lemons, lots of brown lime. And being northeast Watervale, the soil profile is changing a bit. So you get sort of soft minerality on the back note as well.
When you say reserve, is that because it's aged a bit more generally, or?
No, they're sort of released around the same time, but it's it's quite a special little vineyard actually. There's more time gone into actually producing the grapes, that sort of thing. Yeah, and it's really delicious. It's actually got a gold medal at the Clare Wine Show.
Oh, wow.
Which we're really happy about. Only sort of 5 gold medals get given out.
Is that gold for the Rieslings, is it?
Or just in general?
In general?
Yeah. And I think the Clare Valley Wine Show would be pretty tough as far as Riesling competition goes and scrutiny as well.
Yeah.
But...
you're right on the lemon on the Joshua Tree, so that kind of piercing acidity that kind of comes through.
And that sort of classic Watervale, having that really fresh citrus acidity. They're just really beautiful, clean, easy drinking wines. Yeah.
So it's U2 versus Stevie Wonder, I think.
Take your pick.
Yeah, I know. I like Stevie, but that's just the music.
I know.
I've just smelt both of them, and I actually find the Joshua Tree more fragrant. I don't know.
You get those blossoms on the nose, that sort of
Yeah.
orange blossom.
Whereas Stevie, Superstition, yeah, it's definitely Joshua Tree is a stronger scent. Do you have a preference out of the two?
It depends on the day. I like them both for different reasons. I like the cleanness, like the Joshua Tree on a really hot day when it's really cold is quenching. Even though it's got that acidity, it's really quenching to drink.
It's
on
like
a hot
having
day.
that lemonade kind of icy pole type of thing.
Yeah.
There's still a bit of sweetness to it, but
Whereas
Clare Valley Riesling
Superstition is nice because it's a bit more voluptuous on the palate. It's plumper. I quite like it with sort of fatty foods, actually.
Yeah.
Sort of like fatty fish.
Whitefish, even though.
Yeah.
I definitely get that. And that's purely because of there's a bit more riper fruit in it than.
I don't know, 'cause they're both quite nearly pick.
Yeah.
So it's the Superstition's not like your sweeter late harvest pick. It's just, could people say
soil,
terroir.
That's nice. Yeah, that's great to see that. Same year as well, right?
Yeah, both 23s.
But so different.
Yeah. Spittoons over there if you're... Who's driving?
The wife. I mean, the producers.
So how many hectares under vine do you have?
I think it's around 150, 160 acres that we've got from just sort of out of Auburn.
Yeah.
And then varying sort of parcels. Some are sort of single site parcels for a couple of the reserves, Superstition, Joshua Tree. And then we've got them all the way up through to Penwortham.
Yeah.
And then we might contract out a few other vineyards in the valley as well, depending on what the forecasts are. All that fun stuff that the sales guys have to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now onto some reds.
Oh, you do have the
So I've got Carissa's
Miseducation.
wine.
Great.
Yeah. Are you guys happy with the same glasses?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Perfectly fine to drink out of the same glass, guys.
Of course.
So did Carissa have input into the labelling as well?
She did. When was it? I think it was 2 vintages ago. It had a label refresh.
Yeah.
So it used to have a plain white typecast with a black squirrely writing on there. Carissa's a big fan who does the frock up Fridays. She's a big fan of a vintage garb as well. You'll always find her in vintage stores around South Australia looking for something quirky.
Yeah.
And if anyone's ever met her, you'll know she's got a unique sense of
personality.
Style. Yeah.
Well, it yells in the label because there is a fancy frock on that one. Yes, absolutely.
But the one thing that got me about this is, so this one's from quite a hot vineyard just out of Auburn, and it gives it really beautiful, intense sort of dark fruit and a beautiful soft spice as well. But what got me onto Tempranillo in the Clare Valley compared to other regions is the mouthfeel. It's really soft and plush to drink. Other regions you might find them, they're sort of more green and crunchy texturally. Clare Valley Temps, for me, I find them really quite soft and smooth on the tongue.
Yeah. On the nose head, you get that kind of plumper kind of ripe fruit, but it's not big though. It's still quite lifted.
And the clarity on the color looks amazing. So did Carissa choose this to be her wine? She was the one pushing for it, right? Yeah,
she was. Honestly, I couldn't tell you whether it was hers or not, but given the fact she wanted Tempranillo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
To be hers.
I get what you mean by that. That mouthfeel, it's quite soft.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I was expecting maybe like Spanish Tempranillo or something a bit more harsher or something like that.
Yeah.
But this one's a bit more elegant.
Plush and pillowy, but still nice and
juicy as well. Yeah. Completely right.
I like the acidity in that. It's still coming through.
To maintain the fruit, I don't know whether you can say, but is there less oak treatment or zero oak treatment in terms of how they kind of create it?
Whether it depends on the vintage or not.
Yeah.
I mean, typically we use only French oak on all our reds now.
Yeah.
Varying degrees of time in barrel.
Yeah.
But it's nice because you get that soft tang coming through. There is that sort of soft oak presence that comes through as well. Yeah.
Very drinkable, man. This one. It's a dangerous wine. Yeah.
I kind of describe the texture as creamy. I don't know if that's the same as the soft, pillowy kind of.
Yeah.
It does feel like.
Yeah, to your point before, like, I think this would also be good with some kind of like char grilled peppers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Smoke. Charry barbecues. Yeah,
awesome.
Delicious. Now, I'll give you guys a splash of a new one, which is my current favourite. It replaced a previous wine, which is called the Pimper Butterfly. So for anyone out there who's tried that before, this one's the replacement. Going back to a slightly older group over Kendrick Lamar's Pimper Butterfly.
That's what I thought. Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. But it's a Shiraz Mataro blend, so 65 Shiraz, 35 Mataro. And one thing you'll pick it up as well on the dark side of the moon Shiraz, Clare Valley Shiraz is really beautiful and cool on the tongue. You don't get a lot of heat, pepper, and sort of tannic mouthfeel, beautiful sort of forest fruit. So the nose on this one is really, really fragrant. And then you get all that beautiful earthy, savoury Mataro coming through on the back palate. Delicious.
We talked about Mataro. What do you think Mataro kind of gives the wine? Is it that old leather shoe you said or something else?
Well, it's just more of a point of difference than anything else. I find it can be quite divisive for people in cellar door because it's very distinctive. Either as a straight varietal when you get a big dose of it in a blend, and it's the way it lifts on the back palate, which is quite nice. Have a try, see what you think.
So Shiraz Mataro blend, was it?
Yeah, 65-35, 65 Shiraz, right?
Well, there's Shiraz on there. I need to have more Mataro, I really do.
There's a nice sort of soft acidity lift. It's a nice little tang. You get all that nice sort of rich fruit on the Shiraz, and then you get that sour's too strong, but you get that nice sort of tang at the back of the palate.
Tangs are, I was looking for the word. As that finish, it's a tangy finish at the end. It's actually quite enjoyable, quite lengthy. Still there. Wow.
And I love Mataro with charcuterie meats or nice rich hard cheeses, having that sort of rich hard mouth tackiness, and then you get that Mataro
like
on the
something
finish.
like that.
Even
cheddar,
something as simple as a cheddar is delicious with Mataro.
I'm tasting it. Yeah, the tannins on that one's also very nice as well, I think. Again, back to the point, it's kind of like drink now. It's not too offensive in terms of the tannins. It's not something you have to kind of lay down and age for another 10 years. It's something that's ready to go now.
Which is what we do with a lot of our wines, to be honest. They're good to go now. Yeah.
It's got this like enjoyable sharpness to it. Like when you, like if you were to have taste a bit of coffee grind, there's a bit of a sharpness to it that I really like. It really stands out.
You don't have to like it. A lot of people don't like Mataro.
No, but it's the unique things that stand out of it, which is kind of the things that make you go, what is that? Well, I'm trying more.
Is it the Mataro that gives it that kind of, you said sourness or tang or?
Yeah, that earthy savouriness and that.
Would I be wrong to say it gives a bit of kind of, is it bitterness as well or no? Is that?
It can do, yeah. The way it picks up the back on the tongue.
Yeah, definitely on the back of the tongue.
But that's why I'm liking the word tang, because bitterness sounds like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but tang.
But to your point of like bitterness in coffee, though, it's also a different kind of flavor profile as well.
That's the thing, and I enjoy dark coffee. So
wonderful,
awesome.
Well, on to the old faithful, the original Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I think I said before, this is the one Anura started out with. It's really, really popular amongst all the locals in the Clare Valley and interstate. It's our biggest seller, hands down. And it's, Clare Shiraz. So you get beautiful, cool mouthfeel, really rich forest fruits on the tongue. It's a really easy drinking, smooth Shiraz.
Is this the one that the Liverpool Football Club all bought into?
No,
all enjoyed?
They did. They did. Ian Rush and Robbie Fowler did some. They got called the Signature Series. So I think there was a 2013 and a 2014 release on those little guys, and that was there. We opened some. When was it? November. We opened one of each vintage. And it's funny how things change. Like there's still a really oaky, big oaky style Shiraz. everything's changed a lot more since then. Everyone likes a much less American oak or a lot more French oak. So yeah, it's a totally different style of Shiraz. When I first had a sip, I couldn't believe it was Clare Valley Shiraz. I haven't tried anything that big and oaky for a long time. Yeah.
Is that more towards the English palate than back then? Or?
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
How did that partnership happen though? Was that Liverpool approaching Claymore? Did Claymore go to Liverpool? I don't know.
Oh no, that I couldn't tell you. Just that Anura's a diehard.
Yeah. Got it.
He actually flew over just before Christmas.
Yeah.
Jumped on a plane Friday afternoon, was in London, went up to Liverpool for Manchester United and Liverpool match on the Saturday night.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard he represents the Southeast Asia or Southeast, the Australian New Zealand fan base. So he gets to fly up to Liverpool and represent what the fans are talking about. What are they saying about Liverpool? Which shows the passion that he's got, which is great.
The gravitas.
Yeah. So let's try this one.
So would you say this is kind of classic Clare Valley Shiraz? Like if I was going to label it?
More or less. You do get some that are quite a lot richer.
Yeah.
But having a softer mouth, absolutely. It's Clare Shiraz. Yeah.
It smells like classic Shiraz. Like, I don't know on the palate what it's different. I haven't tasted it, but on the nose, it still smells quite big.
Yeah. All those familiar smells. Yeah.
What are the familiar smells for
nice sort of ripeness, nice sort of dark cherries, bit of chocolate. Yeah, lots of things.
On the palate, I think it's a bit softer than what it is on the nose. And I do get this chocolate kind of taste that's coming through it, which is delicious.
I agree with you. On the palate, it's much softer than on the nose.
And I think because Shiraz is, a varietal that's been typecast for a long time as a certain way. And that's why it's good to try those big sort of regional those big known varieties from different regions. Yeah.
But the tannins are, again, a lot more soft on this one than I was expecting.
Yep.
From just the smell of it. Like, the Barossa Shiraz or the McLaren Vale Shiraz, it's like they were huge, like to suck your mouth out.
Yeah.
But this one, it's still, it's light and delicate.
Mm-hmm. So that's just a small snapshot of all the wines we have.
and the one that you preferred the most is this one here.
Yeah.
The Shiraz Mataro, which I think says a lot about the diversity within Clare Valley. The fact that Clare Valley is known for the Rieslings, but actually there's a wide range of reds to explore.
Yeah, my shift is changing from Rieslings now towards the Clare Valley reds.
Yeah.
Especially the Shirazes, I find.
Yeah.
I think just in general as well, just kind of cool climate Shirazes in general has been this thing that's kind of been happening, like that kind of changing of the Australian palate away from the big, heavy kind of reds toward these more kind of elevated and lifted type of reds. It's
which sort of gives Clare a bit of a uniqueness because we're not cool climate, but we're not hot either.
Yeah. We've
got that good daytime, nighttime temperature range, which gives beautiful, elegant reds.
Awesome. That's delicious.
So that's a great snapshot. Jonathan, we really appreciate your time on this. Is there any last messages you want to share with the audience about Claymore Wines, about Clare Valley, about anything around the wine?
Come and visit the Clare Valley, please. So many people don't know about the Clare Valley. They go to the big two. They go to the Barossa or McLaren Vale. We're only an hour and a half out of Adelaide, and you get a beautiful, quite unique little sense of what country and wine life is like in South Australia.
I was in the Barossa probably 10 years ago, and I don't think they had that highway that kind of takes you from Adelaide right through. And now it's just so easily accessible.
It is. Now. Yeah. And you can still take that. You just peel off a bit earlier to get up to Clare. Yeah.
Trent, did you have any last messages?
I think I mentioned just then, it's not just purely Clare Valley Rieslings that you should be trying. It's a Clare Valley Reds. The Shiraz, the Tempranillo, the Shiraz Mataro as well. I think they've all been kind of excellent wines. And I think Claymore is something that's very much accessible and something you can drink pretty much every week. And even a GP also recommends it as well. So why not?
So it's got
medicinal.
It's got health benefits. Yeah, for me, like I said at the start, I think Claymore shouts fun. Having this tasting, enjoying the wine, having a chat with Jonathan, it's the same thing. Like, it's fun, it's approachable.
Yeah.
We do not need to make wine something for the snobs out there.
Yeah.
It's something to have fun with and try more of. So that's been fantastic. It's been a great introduction to Clare Valley. It's been a great introduction to Claymore Wines. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming in.
We're the Wind Up Podcast, so we'll wind it up here.
Yeah.
So like we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.